may be watching. How goes it? I am just trying to think about how I could approach my diet a little bit differently. So I've been clean now for 17 days. No carbs, no sugar. I use like light seasoning. I really do mean light seasoning, like black pepper, garlic salt, things that technically speaking come from plants, but they have really a benign amount of carbs. I think almost an ineffectual amount. At least I'd hope, right? However, I just wanted to go ahead and bring up a little bit more context into sun exposure. Now, I've heard from quite a few different sources and individuals, about the benefits of getting sunlight directly on your skin. And when I say directly on your skin, I am referring to you're not like in a building with windows and you stand in the sunlight. I'm saying like you are outside, there's no physical barrier between you and the sun, and you literally go ahead and take your shirt off, or wear like short shorts or a tank top, something along those lines. But of course, sure, this is the best. And the way I started to expose myself to sunlight, at first, and at this point I was already eating lots of red meat, which forgive me for not recalling the substance, but lots of red meat can help you with getting sunburns and whatnot. It actually helps you, it prevents you from getting sunburns. It's very interesting, I think. But I started out getting sunlight by going outside for literally as short an interval as 15 minutes. Just going out there for 15 minutes when it was a particularly bright day, and I literally just took my shirt off and I would sit in the sun for 15 minutes, listen to some music, a podcast, whatever, right? And then I would literally just flip myself over like a burger patty and I'd go onto my backside. And I would do that pretty much as often as I was able to. Not every day was sunny, of course, over here in good old Midwest Nebraska. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot you can do with the weather. If it's not sunny, if it's very cloudy, if it's cold, if it's raining, if it's snowing, not much you can do. It's very sunny out today. Today's my off day, and I got all this crap I gotta get done. But the amount of sunlight at this point that I'm getting, like in a singular session, is really no more than 45 minutes. I've noticed that I can be in the sun for considerably longer, consecutively, right? Which means like no shade at all, no breaks, and still not get any sunburns. My nose is the only noticeably red part of my body, but it's literally just been like this now for maybe like a couple of days, something like that, I think. And it's completely just, my body it just feels good. And like I literally will be out in the sun and it feels great, and then I'll like, the sun doesn't feel very good anymore, and then I'll just stop. I'll go back inside for like an hour or 45 minutes, and I can go right back on outside and get more sun, and I feel just as good, just as fine. So why is it so important to get sunlight? What's the main reason you want to do it? It's because your body it's starving. It's extremely deficient in vitamin D, right? And vitamin D is actually not a vitamin. It's a hormone that your body produces from the sunlight. The sun rays that make contact with your skin will produce the vitamin D element, and it'll try and apply it to your body's cells. And pretty much almost everyone nowadays is vitamin D deficient. We don't get enough sunlight. The reason, ultimately, is because we wear clothes and we're always inside. And when we are outside, we put on sunscreen because we don't want to get sunburned. Fun fact, sunscreen, when it was introduced, I think in maybe the 1930s, pretty much every single observable and diagnosable kind of cancer that was, being kept account of and given a record went up considerably when sunscreen was commercialized and everyone was using sunscreen against sunlight, which makes sense when you think about it, because from a biological standpoint, humans have been outdoor animals for, pretty much the majority of our existence. We've been outside in the sunlight. We sleep at night, we're up in the day. Our body doesn't have a lot of hair, so obviously our skin, adapts to the sun and it produces, vitamin D, and that's actually why you might have seasonal depression. It's because you're deficient in a very, very important hormone. Vitamin D is a precursor, actually, to your body's testosterone, to your libido, to your overall hormonal health. If you don't get enough sunlight on a day-to-day basis, that can actually negatively impact your overall health and your, of course, your libido. Like, you could be suffering from so many different things that you weren't even aware of when you don't get enough sunlight. I would say getting enough sunlight is almost as important as getting, proper uninterrupted sleep on a daily basis. Like, that is the category I'd place sunlight up into. Obviously, you're not going to die without sunlight. The body is very, very tenacious and it can adapt to a lot of different things. Sleep is one thing you must get enough of, or you will have a shorter lifespan. And in fact, you can actually see it in individuals who will go out and work a ridiculous amount of hours and only sleep like 4 hours a day, consecutively and consistently, and they literally, their body, their cells age faster. Their cells age quicker and they deteriorate at a heightened rate versus cells that are getting 8 to 9 hours of uninterrupted sleep. And there's a plethora of reasons, which ultimately I think goes back to your hormones. When you sleep, your body produces the majority of its hormones. It introduces its repair structure. It does all of that, right? It does exactly what the body needs to do. Sleep time is the time for the body to repair itself and to recover and to recuperate and to grow. So sunlight is something I've just tried to make a habit of doing, and in fact, I've actually decided to start doing full body sun skin exposure. So that's including my drawers, right? Obviously, that's kind of a difficult thing logistically to accomplish for, I think, a variety of reasons. The biggest one, of course, is public indecency, right? How are you supposed to go out and find a place where you can, just get some sun on your old Johnson when you're, when you're like, you have to share the world with other people? It's a real question. So, is that? But yeah, like it's a real question. There's a couple of ways to work around and to find a way to do it. Obviously, the easiest one is if you live in the country. I do live in the country, and my family has 11 acres. That's plenty of space, and you can just go up there and you can, get some sun. I was careful with my nether regions. I would start slowly. I would introduce, my junk to the sun for like 10 minutes at a time, flip like a pancake, just like when I first started out. And I slowly just would increase the exposure to 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And now at this point, it's not quite as tan as the rest of me, but I imagine it will be pretty soon. And it's not getting burnt. It feels fine. It feels good. It doesn't hurt. It feels nice. And it's just like our ancestors probably did this. Like our ancient humans were, are born into the world naked, right? They're born, and here's the thing: humans originally, came from Africa, right? That's the origin. That's like the starting spot of humans. That area is very close to the equator, right? People obviously debate about, what the proper way to live as a human is. I personally think that humans are very adaptable, which is both a strength and a weakness. It's a weakness because that allows you to find the means of least resistance, and in life, sometimes that is not what you need. sometimes you need something else. You need to actually have like a real like structure. But anyways, sunlight. I've been getting sunlight, pretty much exposure to my whole body. I have, I can't say for sure if I've noticed any overall differences in my health, except for the fact that I just feel considerably better. And I do believe it helps. It helps me recover. It does help me recover. Obviously, you don't want to get too much sun in one singular solitary session, because if you do, what ends up happening is that you can get burnt. Even if you do all the right things and you make all the right steps, that's just the reality of it, right? I'm a more fair-skinned person, so the more time I spend in sunlight, the higher risk I am at to actually get a burn, especially depending on the time of the year and how close I am to the equator. Obviously, because of my fair skin, I'm probably somewhere up, where there's a lot less sunlight throughout the year. That's the whole reason the body produces melanin and skin pigment, right? To allow the body to get the proper amount of sunlight, to get the proper amount of vitamin D, depending upon just, of course, how much sunlight is getting throughout the year. Like, it's an important thing. But the video's getting a little long, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it here. But yeah, sunlight's very important. I think it's something that pretty much everyone should be trying to do. They should always try and find time to go ahead and put themselves out in the sun. I can't think of anything really better to do, honestly, because, you can go outside and stretch, you can go outside and work out, you can go outside and do yard work. Mow your lawn shirtless. I mow my lawn shirtless, Like, I find reasons to take my shirt off, especially when it's nice and sunny out like it is out here. But anyways, peace.